You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris back on the Paracast, and for Chris, it's crunch time, of course, putting the final changes in the book, Stalking the Herd. And it's going to be a huge book. It's going to be, what, 400 or 500 pages right now?
I don't know, Sid. I hope it's not more than 600. It's become a monster.
It's become a lot bigger than one.
Jesus.
It's a lot bigger than a cow.
I'm having a cow.
You know, I'll tell you something. I'm looking at Chapter 8, for example. Before we even add the illustrations, it's already 50 pages by itself.
I know.
And some people write entire books that are 50 pages long. And just as an example, to show you the size of books, our guest who will be joining us later in the show, his book is 122 pages, which is what, about a chapter and a half of your book?
Yeah, it's like one of my chapters.
Did you know you'd be running the UFO Evidence Encyclopedia variation for the cattle mutilation topic?
That's kind of what I set out to do, yeah. I want this to be the book on this subject, and I dare anyone. I really do. Anybody that wants to try to tackle this subject as completely as I have, good luck. The reason why Chapter 8 is so long is because it was the 1990s when we had a real upsurge in activity, and I investigated 200 reports myself. And then you look at the 70s. My God, I think one of those chapters wasn't it 72 pages?
Some pretty big chapters. Yeah, you're looking at chapters like 4 and 5. They are amazingly large. I'm just looking at them right now because I have the actual layout files. These things are amazingly long. Like I'm looking now at chapter 5. We get to the illustrations. The last illustration takes us to page 71 and 72.
Yeah, that's, I think, what chapter is that? That's the 79 no, that would be the 75 through 78
That's
chapter.
the 75 through 78 chapter. We're tempting people here. They did not increase the price of the book. I think that Adventures Unlimited Press could have charged like $40 for this book and be a great value.
Well, the price may change when they see how much shipping is going to cost.
It's going to cost $20 to ship it, I think. We're going to send a free scale with the book. You know, when you come up with the Kindle and the Apple iBooks version, that's going to be popular because it's such a big book, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you a story here. I think I sent you a copy of this email. So I'm taking a power nap Saturday afternoon. This is the week before you hear this show, ladies and gentlemen. I get a phone call from somebody with a very deep New York accent, and he says his name is Ron Milioni, and he's screaming because we did something to attack him in our forums. And I say, Ron who? And he starts talking about Bill Burns. And it turns out a thread was posted about him in 2009, evidently involving his efforts, supposedly, to examine some rocks taken while on a visit to one of the UFO crash sites in New Mexico by Philip Mantle, British UFO researcher. And somehow he got involved in this, and there was an item at Frank Warren's UFO Chronicles way back when, in 2008, about what happened. So now we're in 2014, and now this guy, years after the fact, is calling me on the phone and demanding that we take down this thread of about 4 or 5 messages that nobody cared about. Then I get an email. You must have seen a copy of this, Chris.
Yeah, people like this, I really don't know what to say, Gene. I think the guy has some serious issues. Let's put it that way.
Well, the problem is here, let me just tell you what he said, because I will tell you that his email came from a U.S. Army Department of Defense email address, believe it or not.
Well, I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah. And he says in all caps, please take this down, then the link to the thread in the forum. And then in all caps, you will be charged, not charged, charged with U.S. federal criminal harassment, lowercase, if this is not removed within 48 hours, sir. And he sent me like 4 or 5 copies of that.
Wow.
So I think the feds are going to be knocking at my door any time now.
It's still up there, huh?
It's up there in a moderation mode. So it's sort of up there, but not up there. Because frankly, I don't care about what this is. The thing is here, if this guy has a problem, talk to Philip Mantle. Talk to Frank Warren.
Yeah, what's he coming after you for? Just because people post their opinions on a thread on the site? Yeah, you're the one that gets all the grief and he comes after? I don't understand.
I don't understand it either, because this thread was posted 4 years ago. Now, if you're trying to close off something, or if he feels that something in those threads or in the original issue of UFO Chronicles from Frank Warren was incorrect about what he did to analyze these rocks, well, that's fine, but why come to me? I have nothing to do with it. I mean, this was such an insignificant thread in our forums. Let me explain. On the Paracast forums, we have between 175,000 and 180,000 messages. I'm serious. Because we've had this forum open for 8 years since the Paracast first started. So for me to know what's in a little topic thread of 5 messages posted 4 years ago, I'm sorry, I'm not that good.
Yeah, I thought you were the superhero of the forum with elephant memory and all that. So that's not true, huh?
Yeah.
Truth comes out. So you're not a forum superhero. You cannot remember every post.
Only 1 out of every 4,000, I think. But to see what happened here is he drew my attention to something that was so insignificant. Defense,
email address and threats of legal action, that would catch my attention.
Right, especially the fact that I sent it back to the abuse email address at the Army and asked them to figure it out for me. Did you know that?
Oh, that was a good move.
So I don't know. I mean, the thread is up there. If anyone cares, now that we've drawn attention to it,
now plenty of people will get up there and start looking. I did notice some comments on there that were not particularly flattering for this person from New York.
And they spelled his name wrong.
Oh, well, that's probably what.
All right. You know, I mean, I get calls from people, telemarketing people, and they say, is this Mr. Jenny Steenberg? I say, there's no one named Jenny here, and I hang up the phone.
Yeah.
And they never get the message.
Yeah.
Speaking of messages, a couple of years back, we had a gentleman named Ryan Skinner as part of a Skinwalker Ranch roundtable, and we also featured the whistleblower Chip on that show.
Right.
This was one of our best received shows. It was just an amazing experience. I'm not an expert on Skinwalker, and I learned so much from this episode. And now Ryan has this new book out called Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker is the subtitle. This could be a fascinating session. That is, if the feds don't arrest me. I have to think of this old song from the 60s, from Napoleon the 14th. They're coming to take me away, haha.
Yeah, to the funny farm where life is happy all day long.
And life is beautiful. And I'll be happy to see those. Forget about it. I used to actually be able to recite that thing.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
It was actually written by a songwriter named Jerry Samuels, but who cares about the trivia? This is not trivia. Ryan Skinner, the book is Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, Tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
Quantitative easing, unemployment at depression levels, Europe financial system falling apart, China getting out of U.S. treasuries. At the end of 2008, the time of TARP, the national debt was at $11 trillion, gold trading around $850 per ounce. Close to 2012, the national debt exceeded $16.4 trillion, gold doubled to $1,600 per ounce. The $20 trillion threshold for the national debt is inevitable. Politicians in Washington have a ferocious appetite for spending and stimulus. What's worse, a printing press to finance. 100 years ago, we had a gold standard to limit this madness, but now you have to adopt your own gold standard. Don't be fooled with paper promises. Get Midas Resources 10 Reasons to Buy Gold free by calling 800-686-2237. Understanding the gold and silver market may be the only insurance you could have to avoiding the next economic crisis. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order your free copy. Again, that's 800-686-2237.
Time and time again.
You need to come here and help us. We need assistance, please.
Those we should be able to depend on let us down.
Federal and state and local officials saying help is on the way. Well, the folks here in Bell Harbor say, show me.
Don't depend on the government to save you. Take action now so that you're prepared for the next disaster with MyPatriotSupply.com. Get the best prices on storable food, non-GMO seeds, water filtration devices, home canning equipment, survival and self-reliance books, and more at MyPatriotSupply.com. Call 866-229-0927.
We are hurting down here and we need help immediately.
Before it's time to survive, it's time to prepare. MyPatriotSupply.com. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Question: could too many GMO foods and toxins be overloading your digestive and immune systems? Answer: yes. If you're searching for a powerful detox that's gentle enough to use every day, use Pro EM1 from Terraganics. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic that uses good bacteria to suppress pathogens and gently eliminate toxins from your body. A healthy digestive system will cleanse and remove toxins, support weight loss, improve absorption of food nutrients, and aid in controlling yeast and other infections. Pro EM1 is made with only non-GMO and certified organic ingredients, has no preservatives, and is dairy, soy, wheat, and gluten-free. Pro EM1 is the key to your digestive health. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled Terraganix.com, or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Also available through Amazon Prime. Pro EM1 from Terraganics. Life's getting better.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download, direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out at iTunes.
The book is called Skinwalker Ranch, The Path of Skinwalker. And let me just read you this paragraph, this introductory paragraph on the cover page. Come with me as we walk along the forbidden path of the Skinwalker and investigate the mysteries surrounding Skinwalker Ranch. This is more than a story. It is a chronicle of chilling events that actually happened. Stories that I will never forget. I was thinking as I read this, Ryan, that maybe who I needed was the late Fred Foy. He was the announcer who did The Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger rides again. That's what I needed, that voice.
Gene, I think that's a little ahead of Ryan's time. That's ahead of my time.
Yeah, I'm 37.
Oh, no.
No, but I get your point behind that. I'm kind of building up
Yes.
a chilling event.
Right. Or I like the other one, the quote from Paul McCartney. I used to think that anyone doing anything weird was weird. I suddenly realized that anyone doing anything weird wasn't weird at all. It was the people saying they were weird that were weird. From Paul McCartney. Where did he say that, Ryan?
I was just looking up quotes that I thought were relevant. That one really spoke to me.
So
a lot of family and friends kind of question, what I'm doing all the time out there in Utah and just how weird of a hobby I have, I guess.
Now,
that's a good place to start, Ryan. Yeah, what is your motivation, dude? I mean, you live in Wisconsin, right?
I live in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and you're talking about what's the round trip?
1,300 miles away, yeah.
It's 1,300 miles, so you're talking 2,600-mile round trips. How many times have you done that?
I try to do it at least 2 to 3 times a year, and I've done that for the past 6 years.
Which airline is enriching themselves by this?
I actually have a RV that I equip to go off-roading, and I try to take that out as much as I can.
So this is like a 2-day trip or something like that?
I try to spend at least a week to 2 weeks when I'm out there.
I'm thinking in terms of the driving time.
Oh, the drive, yeah, it's a 2-day trip. Okay. 2 days to get there, 2 days back.
And then, of course, you want to spend a week or so there to make the trip worthwhile. Let me ask you a question here. Do you actually have a day job that you are missing because of this?
I'm self-employed, so I guess I have some luxury in my schedule to be able to take trips like this.
But what attracted you to make this pilgrimage? Because I tell you something, I used to be the kind of person when I was 37, which is more years than anyone cares to remember. I do this kind of thing where I travel 1,500 miles at a clip to go to a convention or somewhere that was interesting.
What is my biggest motivator, or why am I doing this?
Yes.
It's definitely become an obsession of mine over the years. There's a lot of haunted houses and just little paranormal supposed hotspots all over Wisconsin and southern or northern Illinois. But really, there's nothing that replicates itself on such a continual basis as what's found at Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, there really is a reason why all these different agencies, and a billionaire and NIDS and Bass, everybody's so interested in the ranch and these kind of high-profile people. They found a interest in that because they're able to study the phenomena, which almost goes against calling something paranormal in the first place, as it's supposed to exist outside of science's scrutinizing eyes. But we are able to test and experience the paranormal in that location. I can't do that anywhere out here.
Okay, so what first got you to latch on to this mystery? Was it the book from George Knapp?
Yeah, well, it was my experience. I didn't even know about the book from George Knapp, and I write in my own book about my chronicles traveling through Utah. I'm on I-70, just south of the ranch, and I had a unusual experience with a ball of light that followed my car, and we eventually pulled over and found alien-like creatures, and just that whole event just sparked my interest and fueled my interest for what was so peculiar and interesting about that area. And the more I researched, I came across the book Hunt for the Skinwalker, and found directly to the north, immediately to the north where we were having where we had our encounter was Skinwalker Ranch, no more than 20, 30 minutes away. And from that point on, I became obsessed with the topic, tried to read as much as I could, and began a hunt of my own to try to find out where this location was. And I had to get out there and look for some answers to what had happened to us.
Have you done any exploring south of there in the southern part of the Uinta Basin, down towards the border with Colorado, Baxter Pass, which goes right over the corner there of Utah into Colorado? Have you explored that area where the gas fields are and the oil rigs and stuff down there?
By Cisco, Utah, is that what you're talking about?
I'm not sure if it's by Cisco. It'd be south of Bonanza.
There's
south of Bonanza, I believe. I would have to get a map out here. We'll continue talking while I look it up, and I'll tell you exactly. I had some really strange experiences going back from my first visit to the ranch in '96. A place called Hell's Canyon Now, I think hell in America is living in Utah and parts of it. It's very hellacious. And imagine how hellacious it must be in Utah if you have to call a place Hell's Canyon. And I'll tell you, Hell's Hole actually is the name of the canyon. It is filled with probably hundreds of thousands of rattlesnakes. I've never heard the sound of just many thousands of rattlesnakes all going off at once. It was, I'm telling you, that was one of the more frightening experiences of my life, was hearing that sound. My brother was standing there outside of the truck in his bare feet, and he literally would not move. He made us pick him up by the elbows and take him into the truck. But that area down there there's something wrong there.
I agree.
There's something
full-heartedly agree with you.
Very wrong. It makes the ranch look like paradise, and maybe some sort of Disneyland, compared to the feeling that I got just over the northern border of Colorado, at the corner at the southeast corner of Utah. There's one road that goes up and over a small mountain range there called Baxter Pass is the top of the mountain range, and just to the north and west of that area is a large gas field and oil field. I think it's part of the Rifle oil deposits there, and I'm telling you, that is so spooky down there. I've been all over this country, 48 to 50 states, many states, numerous times. I've been to all sorts of paranormal hotspots from Maine to Baja. And I think that if somebody asked me, what is the spookiest place that you've been in nature, I would have to say that area is right up there at the top.
We've got some spooky stuff to talk about here.
Boy, I done.
A lot more to talk about with Ryan Skinner. The book is Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
A little right, a little left, but always independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
To thank you for being a loyal listener, we have a limited time freebie offer for you. Claim your free heirloom tomato seeds, just pay shipping, right now at 123freeseeds.com. These aren't ordinary seeds. These are heirloom, non-genetically modified super seeds that are open pollinated and can be grown, harvested, and replanted endlessly. These survival seeds are actually more valuable than gold in a crisis. Go to 123freeseeds.com and you can get an airtight storage packet of 150 super seeds free while supplies last to say thank you for being a loyal listener. First come, first served. Just cover shipping. Go to 123freeseeds.com now to see if your free heirloom seeds are still available. That's 123freeseeds.com.
Do you owe the IRS money that you can't pay? Are tax liens and levies ruining your life? Are you tired of being afraid just to go to the mailbox? If this describes you, then Dan Pilla can help.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla, and I've been solving tax problems for more than 30 years. In fact, I wrote the book that made it possible to negotiate settlements with the IRS, and I've helped thousands of people do exactly that. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. New changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever before eliminate their debts once and for all. There's no need for you to suffer another day with IRS debt. Call 800-346-6829. I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
These days, so many suffer from heartburn, stomach ulcers, and acid reflux, and most never realize it is the high acidity within the body that causes their discomfort. While selective diet choices can help, AlkaVision Plasma pH drops can really make a change. A few drops added to water can optimize your body's pH level, ridding you of harmful waste and acid, promoting health and restoring vibrance and energy. Healthy pH levels make all the difference. High acidity can also cause depression, insomnia, and irritability. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops bring you vital balance that can be truly life-changing. Alkalizing boosts immune response, reduces headaches and cramping, and even helps prevent bone loss. This is simple science that helps your body do what's natural. Order your AlkaVision pH drops for just $29.95 at alkavision.com, ALKAvision.com, or call 800-518-7615. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
Now, Chris is going to, as we progress with the show, adopt his best Skinwalker voice. Right now, he's just playing it down the middle, but you just watch. Okay. Ryan Skinner joins us, and we're having a fascinating discussion about all the strange things we find around this country. And as you say, going near Skinwalker Ranch, Ryan, a lot more strange than the stuff up in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin can have some pretty strange events.
We have the Bray Road Beast that's about 20 minutes from my house here, and that's a werewolf-like creature.
Oh, yes, werewolves. I was just watching the other day, they've got I think 2 different werewolf shows on the Sci-Fi Channel now. They've got Being Human, which is the one about the werewolf, the vampire, and the ghost. And they've got another one, Bitten, where this woman who used to play Supergirl on TV, by the way, in the TV series Smallville, now she's bitten by a werewolf and becomes a werewolf. And then they've got a show called Lost Girl, where one of the characters becomes a werewolf. So they're always big werewolves, aren't they?
Definitely captivated the American public's interest lately. Skinwalkers, werewolves, it's kind of on the horizon where ghost hunting used to be the big thing.
Now, define a skinwalker for people who need to be given the 101 treatment. What is a skinwalker? It is something that can adopt different forms, right?
Well, it really depends who you ask what a skinwalker is. I believe it was originally the Navajo tribe that came up with the term for an evil witch doctor. Is one explanation I've heard. I believe you become a skinwalker by sacrificing a relative or a child to some of the evil spirits, and as a result, you inherit these powers, the ability to transform into animals. And one of the earliest explanations wasn't necessarily for evil reasons. It was, from what I've read, to spy on some of the invading armies, where you could become a wolf, for example, and go undetected and do some sort of scouting and report back to the tribe. That's, again, one explanation. It's not necessarily what I personally subscribe to. I think it's too simplistic and possibly a little too religious.
Well,
fanatical.
It's unfortunate that the tag actually even became associated with the Sherman Ranch, now called the Bigelow Ranch, I guess. First of all, we're talking about the Ute Indians, who were nomadic, did not have the medicine societies set up in the way that the Dene, or the Navajo and the Apache, do. And the whole term, I think, has been misapplied completely in this sense, which I was going to point out. I know your book has it twice in your title, but because the area has now gained that particular tag or meme, if you will. But again, skinwalkers are not part of the Ute tradition. The reason why they even mention the word skinwalker is because they've been in conflict with the Dene for many generations, since the Utes actually were signed on by the U.S. Army to help hunt down the Dene people, the Navajo and Apache, and there's been animosity ever since. And some of the Utes several generations ago felt that the Dene were sending skinwalkers to harass them because of their association with the U.S. Army. So, first of all, the area does not have a tradition of skinwalkers, being residents or being, a local phenomenon. This is something that would be sent to harass them, if anything. And it's unfortunate that I think Kelleher and Knapp even came up with that term in relation to the ranch. As you said, Ryan, it's it's almost peripheral to this, and it's a very it's no way that this term or this type of black magician, if you will, could be behind what we're seeing there.
I completely agree with that.
When was your first trip there? And describe some of your early forays to the area, because we're now going back to 2007, I believe, right? 2008.
Yeah. 2007, 2008 was my first trip out there. I went out there with another investigator, kind of a local to the area, because I didn't know the area that well. And honestly, at that time, the location of the ranch itself really wasn't popularized, and most people didn't know where it was. And they went through some links in the book Hunt for the Skinwalker to obscure the location. So at that point, it was a bit of a scavenger hunt for us. And we did, over the course of several days and looking at several other ranches, local ranches, we did come across the correct one. And almost immediately, I mean, back in 2000, the intensity of whatever was going on out there was even more so intense than what I've experienced recently. Which it's still, even to this day, there's still activity going on there.
Yeah, they've been trying to downplay that for a number of years now. Anytime any of the principals has asked the question about, there hasn't been anything going on there for years. I saw stuff with you when we went out to 2.5 or so years ago with with Sean Stone and Tyrell Ventura. We had a pretty interesting sighting of an anomalous light. I mean, it was just a night, weird light at night, which are a dime a dozen out there, and many places in the West. But there is activity. 2009 especially had quite a bit of activity. Why don't you start giving us a blow by blow of some of your trips? You've been out there over 20 times. Obviously, every time you go out there, it's not going to have packed with the excitement and the like. Why don't you start out by
correct.
That's kind of high points.
That's exactly correct. That's kind of a misconception that people ascribe to me because I've had so many different events that have occurred out there. What are you just that lucky, Ryan? Are you making all this up? And it's none of that. It's when you really invest that amount of time living and breathing and just immersing yourself into that environment. If there really is something to it all, then you're going to be experiencing a significant amount of whatever's going on out there. And I'm lucky to have seen some pretty unusual things. Back in 2007, when I first went out there with the other investigator, we did finally locate a hotspot near the ranch. From this location, I guess what immediately surprised me is we planned to then trek through the desert to reach the ranch itself. But it's really not where this phenomena is. It's not just on the ranch. It's in the entire basin. And really, the ranch itself is just a path. That's kind of why I called the book Path of the Skinwalker. It's just a path where these events occur. On that first night, as we were unpacking our car and the sun had gone down, the moon started to come up, right after we arrived, suddenly we heard it sounded like a robotic voice over the hilltop right next to our campsite. And going into this, our paranoia was being arrested by the local Bureau of Indian Affairs, which is the local tribal police. They don't have traditional police in that area. It's a tribal community or a reservation. So we discussed this over and over, and I almost wonder if there's a ability for the intelligence out there to almost latch on to what your fears are and to manifest as that fear. Because as we started hearing this robotic voice, it was barking out commands. Suddenly these red, white, and blue lights sprung alive in the desert. And it appeared like a police car had somehow driven out. I mean, it takes 4x4 vehicles to get the location where we're at. And suddenly right next to us were these red, white, and blue lights. A bullhorn was screaming orders at us. We were just horrified and I guess a little surprised at our ineptness to be elusive to the authorities. I mean, we were caught already is the conclusion we came to. The problem is whatever these orders were, it wasn't spoken in English. And the voice itself, I mean, like a computer robotic kind of voice. After about 10 minutes, I'd say maybe 5 minutes of this going on, the lights eventually extinguished.
Okay, let's stop it there and get to our next segment because I want to know more about what happened after the lights extinguished. Ryan Skinner joins Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Independently leading the way for the nation. Compelling talk for every political persuasion. We are GCN.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Freudian phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Yesterday, I got a notice from the IRS. They say I owe them over $16,000. I don't have that kind of money, but the notice said if I don't pay it in 30 days, they're going to go into my bank account and take my money, put a lien on my house, and garnish my wages. Can they really do that?
If you owe back taxes, unless you get help, the IRS can do all that and more. Don't try to fight the IRS on your own. Use Coast One Financial Group and let them help you get a fresh start. Their Fresh Start program that will stop collection efforts, remove any liens the IRS or state have in place, and help you reduce your back taxes by as much as 80%. You get a fresh start if you owe at least $10,000 in back taxes. They're so sure they can help you that they'll give you a 20% discount just for calling right now. Dial 877-328-6404. That's 877-328-6404. Again, 877-328-6404.
Great news, pure water lovers. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has a special discount offer for all GCN listeners. You can't do better than a Big Berkey for economy. For only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. There's none better than a Big Berkey for emergency preparedness as a backup water source. And you just can't beat a Big Berkey to remove dangerous chlorine, all types of fluoride, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, and unhealthy byproducts from municipal water. Berkey water filter systems are even powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. For the gold standard in water filters, get a Big Berkey at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. For details, call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
A little over a year ago, I began to do a lot of research into why, even if I had a pretty good-sized meal, that I was still starving. And my research led me to a well-known fact that most of the soils that we grow our crops on here in the United States and across the industrialized world are almost completely depleted of almost all of the key minerals and trace elements that our bodies need to rebuild themselves, fight off cancer, and be healthy. I then searched out the best vitamin and mineral company out there and discovered Youngevity. The Youngevity products are designed to give you the real nutrition you need, and once you've got that, you don't have to eat as much to be satisfied. I've lost 37 pounds in 2 months, simply getting the vitamins and minerals I need. Check it out for yourself. It's incredible. Go to InfoWarsTeam.com today and order your first canister of Beyond Tangy Tangerine Complete Multivitamin Mineral Complex Dietary Supplement. That's InfoWarsTeam.com.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
I'm resisting the temptation, Ryan Skinner, to use a robotic voice. That does not
You have one of those?
Oh, I can...
Something like that.
I have a million of them, but I think they're all too cliche-like. All right, so
I got
the
some
gendarmes are coming after you here. The locals are coming after you. The lights extinguish. What happens next?
Well, I mean, that's what's going on in our mind. We don't immediately jump to the paranormal. You know, we're not even at the ranch. So that's kind of the last thing on our radar is that the phenomenon is already interacting with us moments after arriving. We're just lying on the ground. We have nowhere to run. The only way to get into this place, it's about 2 miles to a pretty treacherous road to get to where we're at, to our campsite. Without a house around, I'm deep in the desert. There's no way to turn around and go back because where its lightest position is exactly on the road coming in. The lights go off. There's no more orders spoken. We don't hear a car engine idling, nothing, just the desert silence. Eventually we get brave enough to trek over to the hilltop and to peer over the other side. I mean, fully awaiting to be arrested or lectured or whatever is going to whatever our fate may be. And on the other side of this hill, which is no more than, I'd say 200 feet away, there's nothing there. There's not even tire tracks on the ground. And we're talking about a desert ground where, you know, your footsteps, every footstep you take, you can see the imprints of your feet or car tires or anything. There's nothing there.
Now, just to backtrack a little bit, on these trips, you were going there with your fiancée, right?
No, that's the initial trip, what initially got me interested. Like Chris was talking about, that same area of that Four Corners area, I guess right between southeastern Utah and southwestern Colorado is where the event initially started. As we were driving actually to Las Vegas, nothing to do with Utah or Skinwalkers or Bigelow's ranch. So she at this point, after the event, whatever happened with me and her, that really kind of traumatized her in a lot of ways. And the two of us we went 2 different directions with our life almost. I mean, I became obsessed with finding out what had happened, whereas she wanted nothing to do with the topic. I mean, she wanted to bury the memories as completely as she could.
Is that her current position?
She didn't go with me. I went alone.
Is that her current position? Stay away from it?
It's definitely her current position. She wants nothing to do with the topic.
So how does she react to your constant interest and maybe your obsession with this? Just a silly hobby now or what?
I believe it affected our marriage to a point where we eventually got divorced.
Uh-huh.
It was definitely a catalyst in our relationship where she was more interested in the grounded kind of lifestyle of high fashion and, I don't know, Kardashian and stuff on TV. And I started taking a completely different pursuit with my life and obsessing over it and reading about it and taking these trips all over the Southwest. The two lifestyles didn't mesh at all. And it created some tension between us, I guess.
That's the big thing, though, when people get really involved in paranormal research. It can wreak havoc on relationships. I understand that.
I'm somewhat of a obsessive person to begin with. When I get interested in a topic, I mean, I really put everything into it. I invest everything to build whatever whatever hobby I'm into or whatever my interest is. And that must have played a role as well. And what happened to us on I-70 on that trip to Vegas sparked this interest in me that still burns to this day. And I think the answers are out there. I mean, not just at the ranch, but in the entire basin and that Four Corners area.
Well, one thing you wonder here is, aside from our corner of the world and reality TV shows and such, we're not getting a lot of attention on these events by the national media at all.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the minute you associate Bigfoot with the topic, suddenly everybody's interested, or haunting possibly, or a chupacabra. But this topic seems largely ignored for some reason, which I don't understand.
Maybe it's not quite as accessible. If you get my point, the marketing is maybe a bit more difficult. And it has to be marketing when it comes to the people who put on reality shows.
Well, I have to say, I think there's been a shift somewhat in the past recent 5 years. Interest is beginning to build in the topic. And you can go on all the different BFRO hunts you want and look for Bigfoot. And people just aren't finding those kind of things and getting cursory glances of him on videotape or a thermal catch of it. But it's another thing to go out anywhere in the basin and really to spend some time. I mean, I'm talking like a week or two in the deep desert alone. There is some sort of intelligence at play, an alien intelligence at play that's out there, that's unknown, but nonetheless very real and interacts with us.
Now, with you, what kind of interactions have you had other than your initial encounter?
I'd say I've had two, well, maybe three interactions. That's what I'm always looking for and always running from is, the answers are through the interactions. It's not just through videotaping a ball of light on the ground floating around. There's really no information that can be gathered from that. Interaction, like communication, is really what I'm looking for. That's, what is the intentions of these things? What are they? Where are they from? What does it all mean? And how does it relate to myself? Let's see. Many times, a pretty consistent recurring theme that's happened out there is you'll hear two male voices having a conversation directly above your head. And it's in a language that almost sounds like English. I mean, you get this impression that you can just about understand what they're talking about, but it's muffled, or it's hard to hear. And just as abruptly as it occurs, it goes away.
Now, when you've heard these voices, you had people with you?
Trying to think.
And
no,
you understand why I'll say that. You'll understand why I say that, because some people will say, well, he's just hearing voices.
Hearing voices in his head.
Sure.
No, but and I agree with that and fully acknowledge that somebody would conclude that. What's interesting is the other that is a pretty common phenomenon out there. So I'm not alone in having that happen. And if I was, I would, could you actually record these voices, or are they actually just between my two ears? Is it all in my head? So the fact that it happens to others and happens somewhat frequently, even to the locals out there, well, I mean, not even, especially to the locals out there, that adds a little bit of comfort to me that I'm not losing my mind, I guess. But interaction. The biggest story, or the most phenomenal thing that ever occurred to me, was one day I was observing the ranch from about a quarter of a mile away from a pretty high vantage point. As I'm looking down into the ranch, I could see these balls of light. Well, I'm just gonna gloss over this. It's a long story. Long story short, these balls of light, they were dancing around the fields around the ranch, on the ranch house itself, and even following behind one of the guards, as if he didn't even know it was there. 3 of them broke away. There was probably about 8 to 9 of them in total. 3 of them broke away, made their way over to my location. They would kind of glow real bright and then dim into nothingness. Eventually, they made their way right to my spot. As they dimmed out, you had no idea where they were going to reappear next. And I guess the fearful part of me was hoping they weren't going to reappear right in front of me, which they did. Right above my head, 3 of them appeared. They shined a pretty bright light right down on me and another investigator. At that point, all bets were off. We thought we were observing it from a safe vantage point. We were obviously caught by whatever it was. They then winked out again and appeared 30 feet in front of us, landed on the ground, and shut off this blazing light that it was in the middle of the night. I mean, everything became like daylight at that point. Once it had landed, I realized at that point there's nowhere to run. I'm on that Skinwalker Ridge on a cliff. I can't just run off the cliff, and they're right in front of me. I can't run towards them. And do I want to run at all? I mean, here are the answers right in front of me. Before me, I saw I call it a shadow, but I call it more of a 3-dimensional shadow, as if the shadow itself had substance and had lifted itself off the ground, and like a murky blackness that was blacker than the night sky around me. And this thing started swirling like a whirlwind, and eventually took shape, and it took the shape of a wolf.
Oh, boy. We're going to stop it there, and we'll go on to this in our next segment. No wolves in the audience. But what about cats? What about dogs? I'm not sure. I'm sure, by the way, that you can find us on Twitter if you want to communicate with us. Send us a tweet. On Twitter, we are the Paracast. What else could we be? Ryan Skinner joins Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
Great minds think alike. The network for the independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network. GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
We have the computerized Chris O'Brien. No more werewolves here. But Ryan Skinner. Okay, so this resolves itself into the shape of a wolf. Tell me more.
There's now a large wolf, a dirty-looking, black, matted-haired wolf that walks up to us from where these balls of light had landed. It's now no more than an arm's length away from me and this other investigator. It just stands right there and stares at us. Again, this is not a fanatical story or some sort of fantasy of mine. I mean, this actually happened. Unfortunately, it doesn't have some sort of dramatic climax to it. There was no there may have been communication, but on a level on a level that I guess I didn't expect. No sort of telepathy or voice, a clear voice in the head. It definitely didn't talk. The eyes didn't glow. It didn't stand up on two legs, but it was within. I could have reached out and petted it, touched it. It was just right there, and it sat there for 5 minutes, just staring at us directly in the eye, and we didn't know what to do. We're just frozen like statues. I mean, I don't know if I was frozen because it did something to me to freeze me, or if it was just the shock of the moment, not knowing to run.
Now, this was a normal sized wolf, not the oversized kind of spectral wolves that Terry and Gwen and their son reported.
Again, this is a real story. So I'm not, and all my stories are real. They might sound like they're fiction. And as I'm reading the book, I kept thinking, like, Jesus, it's sounding like fiction, but this actually happened. This was I'd say a normal sized wolf. This was not some sort of, the size of a car behemoth right in front of me. The unique thing about it, though, it did have a long, bushy tail that was dragging behind it. And just its demeanor was unique. This was not a dog. I guess I'm not a wolf expert, but it was not someone's pet or something. And it stared us directly in the eyes for a good 5 minutes, and then stood up, turned around, walked behind a nearby rock and vanished. We walked up to the rock and looked for it. There was nothing there.
Did it make any sound? Did it growl at you or something?
It didn't growl. I'm really trying to relive the moment. It didn't. There was no hostility in it. At the same time, it wasn't nudging its head against the side of my leg. I think like the story in the Sherman book. No, indifferent. Absolutely, it gave a look of indifference, as if it was more analyzing us than we were of it, as if it knew exactly what we were, but we were in shock of whatever it was.
Was it larger or smaller than what you'd envision a wolf to be?
I guess it's exactly the size I would imagine a wolf to be. Possibly, it was just dirtier than what I expected. Kind of I guess I don't know how clean wolves are, but this thing. In the book, it does bring up an interesting detail. In the book, Hunt for the Skinwalker, they do talk about that, the bulletproof wolf, and they talk about shooting it, and a hunk of flesh flies off the wolf and falls on the ground. And I think they go up to that piece of flesh, and they said it smelled like rotting, or it appeared like rotting flesh. So I don't know if this was a zombie wolf, but that description might hold some weight. It had no smell to it as well, unfortunately. It didn't smell like sulfur, ozone, or anything unique. But I was in such a state of shock at that point that I was just hyper fixated on.
Had you read the book, the Knapp and Kelleher book at this point? So you were aware of the wolf connection?
Yeah. Yes.
So
I knew
whipping
exactly
out
that this was
38 or 357 Magnum didn't enter your mind because you figured if this thing appeared, out of thin air, that firing at it would probably just ticked it off or something?
I remember my thought process at the time, and kind of it surprises me a little bit. My thought process was I wanted to reach out and actually kick it, hit it, kick it, get it, get it out of there. And I kept something else suppressed that immediately. I mean, this threat is right in front of your face, and it's not going away. So I guess that might have been my instinctual reaction to it.
Did you ever fear for a moment this thing would attack you?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
And you didn't want to be wolf meat.
Well, we really didn't have any weapons. We didn't have a gun on us, or I think we might have had a pocket knife or something. But if it wanted to attack, we were pretty bare at that time, and we would have been wolf meat.
Did you feel any urge then to maybe arm yourself on future occasions, or just you were satisfied that this creature, whatever it was, wasn't interested in doing anything nasty?
Correct. That was, I give you, people, when you're in the moment of something, and when you're experiencing the unknown, you immediately, or at least I do, I revert to instinctual reactions on how best to overcome the obstacle in front of me. And that's either to fight or flight. And flight wasn't an option because I'm standing with my back to the edge of a cliff. And luckily, I don't know.
So you were up on the ridge overlooking the ranch, to the north of the ranch boundary then. I'm trying to get a better sense of where you were actually located.
They call it Werewolf Ridge. It's the one part of the ridge that kind of juts out a little bit onto the field.
Right.
Gives a real good view into the ranch house.
Now, just thinking here, you were frightened enough you could have gone back too far and fallen.
Well, that's why it eliminated of the two options, the fight or flight. It eliminated the flight part because I had nowhere to run. It would have fallen off the edge of the cliff, and Chris is pretty familiar with that area. It would have been a good fall.
No, you don't want to go off the edge of that particular rock formation there. That's pretty high up. It's about 30 or 40 feet to the next level, but probably even more at that point. Well, we do have a lot of new listeners each week, Ryan, on the show, and obviously we're going with the assumption that folks are familiar with this case, but perhaps you can give us a quick backgrounder on the case. I've been linked to the case whether I like it or not because I was the first investigator that ever went up there, to my knowledge, from outside of the local area there. In 1996, and of course, the Shermans were featured in a series of Deseret News articles written by Zach Van Eck in late, it was early July, I believe, 96, that put national attention on the case. Robert Bigelow, I actually gave Terry Robert Bigelow's phone number and also Lawrence Rockefeller's phone number because he wanted to get out of there and he wanted to sell the ranch and get his family out of there because he was in fear for their safety. And before he could even make those calls, I think it was that night or the following day, Bigelow had heard about had read the article. Somebody had forwarded it to him, and he had obtained Terry's number and called him and said he wanted to discuss with him the case. And Terry said, "That's funny that you should call. I'm trying to sell this place, and an investigator was up here, and he gave me your number." Which I've always found kind of curious that Bigelow should jump all over that particular article within a day or two, if I remember correctly, of it being released in Utah. But let's go ahead and mention that the ranch is still under secure conditions. There are ex-military types patrolling the ranch. No one is allowed on the ranch pretty much for any reason, other than sanctioned Bigelow Aerospace personnel. And why don't you give us a backgrounder on Kelleher and Knapp's book that came out when, I think in 2004, or was it 2005? I'm not sure.
I believe it's 2004. What would you like to know?
Well, I want just give some of our first-time listeners and people that may not be familiar with the case, just give them a quick thumbnail sketch of the case.
Let's do this here. We're about to break. So when we come back after a few brief announcements, Ryan Skinner, let's have you give the basics of the case, spend much of the segment going over this. So as we go on, all our listeners are on the same page. How's that? Ryan Skinner joins us with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
Do you know how much the dollar has lost in its value against other currencies in the last 90 days? Ever think about how inflation will change your life, your savings, your retirement plans? Remember inflation in Zimbabwe, Argentina, the Weimar Republic? Put another way, who cares if your investments go up 10%, but you lose 40% of your purchasing power? Gold is the only monetary asset as no one else's liability. Gold still buys the same amount of stuff it always did. Gold does not require trust in a third party. You can possess it in your hand. You can take it with you. Gold is real money. Gold is honest money. My name is Daniel Larson from Midas Resources. To find out how you can protect your savings and roll over your IRA funds into precious metals accounts, please call me at 800-686-2237, extension 134. That's 800-686-2237, extension 134. 800-686-2237, extension 134.
It's time for a home security quiz. What effective home security device is smaller than a coffee cup, fakes out burglars into thinking someone is home at your house while you're away, plugs into any wall outlet, is recommended by many police departments, and sells for less than $30? Yes, it's Fake TV. This year, about 1 in every 50 U.S. homes will have a break-in, with burglars usually picking the easy target, a dark house that looks like no one is home. Fake TV is a small electronic security device that makes it look like someone is home watching TV by simulating the light from a real TV. Fake TV could be the difference between coming home to a secure house or one that's been ransacked. To get your Fake TV for only $29.95 with free shipping, go to faketv.com or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. That's 877-532-5388 or go to faketv.com. Fake TV, the burglar deterrent.
It's that time of year again, and you know what that means. Cold and flu season. But don't worry, herbalhealer.com has you and your loved ones covered with our safe and natural products. Cold and flu fighters like beta-glucans, olive leaf antiviral capsules, grapefruit seed extract, HHA 4-herb capsules, elderberry power, and respirate. And don't forget about oregacillin for the lungs, normally $34.95, on sale now for only $25. Vitamin D3 120-count soft gels, only $9. Whole body and homeopathic detoxes for the lungs, kidneys, liver, lymph, and brain, normally $26.95, now just $20. Herbalhealer.com also offers correspondence courses to teach you how to handle your health naturally. And as always, new customers get a free 128-page catalog with your order. Visit herbalhealer.com and click the Winter Specials button to save on our natural cold and flu fighting products. Herbalhealer.com, healing the world with nature, one person at a time, since 1988.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
He's author of Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. Chris asked a question to kind of explain a little bit more background for our new listeners. Go ahead, please.
Well, the book is perhaps the number one most inspirational book or fascinating book I've read about the paranormal. And what always interested me is that we have a location where a billionaire purchased, or at that time I think he still is a billionaire, purchased this ranch, this haunted ranch where these owners were terrorized by all this different paranormal phenomena that had occurred to them. They sought help by placing an article, I believe. It's such a long synopsis. They placed an article. A reporter came out and interviewed them, and they were just kind of seeking help from the public or talking about their tale. Bigelow, the billionaire who owns the Bigelow Suites out of Vegas, was interested in acquiring the ranch out there. He did acquire it. I think he kept Terry Sherman on as a proprietor on the ranch. And he brought his team of experts, known at that time as NIDS, onto the ranch to research the phenomena out there. And back then, a lot of the research was published for public dissemination. And they had some fascinating, one of the most fascinating tales I've ever read in any paranormal literature about the various events that had occurred to that research team, from Bigfoot sightings to balls of light to portals opening up on the ranch. really the whole paranormal gambit seemed to have occurred out there, and werewolves, and even an intelligence that I think possessed one of the researchers. And the book, the only problem I have with it is it just kind of dishearteningly concludes without a lot of visual evidence or any sort of evidence whatsoever about some of the fantastic tales that Knapp and Kelleher discuss in the book. And furthermore, it left out the location of the ranch and left the reader with the impression that whatever was happening out there has now subsided, and it's kind of case closed, which is absolutely not the case.
Do you think that was done, Ryan, to discourage people from visiting the site?
Definitely. Absolutely.
I think the book actually was a form of public relations and trying to give people, so many people became interested in the case so quickly that the case gained so much notoriety because of the very sensational events that were reported going on there. Knapp had released a couple of newspaper articles. I had referred to it. David Perkins wrote an article called "The Ranch from Hell" that got quite a bit of notoriety, and so people really became interested in the case. And I think the book was sanctioned and allowed to be written by Bigelow because Kelleher and Knapp had to get his permission on some level to write the book, because at the time I believe Colm Kelleher was the managing director for the National Institute for Discovery Sciences, which is the acronym NIDS. And I think the book was written to kind of give people the information in a form that would then satisfy everybody, but it had the opposite effect. It turned the ranch into a magnet for people like you and others who went to the ranch to observe some of the phenomena that go on in the region. As you pointed out at the beginning of the top of the show here, this seems to be a central point of a lot of activity, but there's been many reports of cattle mutilations, UFO sightings. Frank Salisbury, a science teacher in the area, wrote a book with Junior Hicks, a local investigator, called The Great Utah UFO Display, which talked about the area in the 60s, 70s. The tons of activity go on in that Uinta Basin area, but the book did have that opposite effect of attracting attention to the ranch, and as a result, it had a kind of a backlash effect. And as a result of that, Bigelow had to secure the ranch with armed personnel. And some of the stories that have come out from people like yourself, you being one of the most dogged and determined investigators who spent probably as much time as anybody up there that's not part of the NIDS team. You've actually befriended people that have worked on the ranch. I don't know how much you want to get into to your first appearance on the Paracast with David Weatherly, another investigator who spent time up there, and a gentleman that we kind of pseudonymed Chip, who was a security person there and violated his non-disclosure agreement that everybody who is involved with the ranch for Bigelow has to sign an NDA, and they're disallowed to talk about anything about the ranch. And he has come forward. We've had a couple of questions on our question thread at forum.theparacast.com asking, how reliable do we think this Chip character was? And I remember a couple of years ago on the show when this question came up, I assured people that he came with impeccable documentation and credentials, shall we say, that proved to me that he was who he said he was. But this whole thing has kind of got a life of its own, and your book is the first real look at some of the attendant activity that has gone on around the ranch by people, investigators such as yourself, and some of the just incredible experiences that you've had, not even on the ranch, but outside of the ranch. And, you and I, as I mentioned before, did share one with a film crew when we were up there. But let's continue. Now that we've given people kind of a bit of a background, we must stress that when we talk about a team of experts, these are, credentialed, scientists with doctorates in physics and various scientific disciplines, veterinary pathologists investigating the many cattle mutilation reports in the area, for instance. And so these are in my estimation, you could almost call them world-class scientists who are having these types of experiences, which were life-changing for a number of them. So let's go through again. Let's continue back on our narrative about some of the events that you talk about in your book, Path of the Skinwalker, and let's kind of give people a sense of what it's like to be in the area, sleuthing around there, with the threat of being eaten by wolves and arrested by voices in different languages and flashing lights and this reflective quality that seems to attract the type of phenomenon that you are in fear of, or you're even expecting. There is a certain reflective quality I see in these reports of yours.
And before we actually get into that, we have to do our break. So let me tell our listeners that we have Ryan Skinner. The book is called Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. And we're going way beyond that very politically correct book from Kelleher and Knapp called Hunt for the Skinwalker. This takes it to the next level. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
The bad boy of broadcasting, Mancow, has found a new home. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
Big business has discovered the preparedness market, and that makes it difficult to know where to go and who to trust. MyPatriotSupply.com is owned and operated by patriots just like you. Has the best prices on storable food, non-GMO seeds, water filtration devices, home canning equipment, survival and self-reliance books, and more. MyPatriotSupply.com has old-fashioned values and the absolute best customer service in the industry. Look for the deal of the day. Unique, affordable survival supplies that fit anyone's budget. Get same-day shipping on all orders and free shipping on orders over $49. Call 866-229-0927, 866-229-0927, or visit MyPatriotSupply.com for emergency preparedness, self-reliance, and food independence. Shop with a name you know and a name you can trust. Before it's time to survive, it's time to prepare. MyPatriotSupply.com.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light Systems system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
Hi, this is Nick Pope. You're listening to the Paracast.
Politically correct. That's one of the issues, I guess, that bothered me with their presentation, that they're trying to be so protective of Bob Bigelow and his concerns that maybe not all the information was being fully presented. You go for that, Chris and Ryan?
Yeah, definitely. Only 4 people, I think, I counted in the book are actually named. Everybody else has pseudonyms, including the Shermans, who are called the Gormans in the book. There's no photographs. There's no actual data. There's no any sort of documentation. It all comes across as kind of like campfire stories, ghost stories, if you will. Having spoken with both gentlemen, knowing George Knapp fairly well, over the years, I sincerely believe everything that's in that book occurred as close to as an accurate description of these events I think you'll find in the book. But the lack of documentation, the lack of photographs, the lack of identifying principles involved, to me is cagey. It's not. I think it had the opposite effect that was intended. It created more of an attraction to the ranch and to the case than anything really. How about you, Ryan? What do you think?
Well, I think there's a real business aspect to all of this. This is not some sort of a fanatical hobby of a crazy billionaire. That this is actually an extension of Bigelow Aerospace, and a lot of the secrets and information he's gleaning from the studies at the ranch. It's not. He's not going to share it. It's a trade secret. Also, there's a lot of rumors that swirl around, and some of them, I guess they're always going to be rumors and hard to pin down, but that there are certain 3-letter government agencies that have contracted with Bigelow to do some of the research out there and are also having some sort of benefit or learning something from that research for military applications.
Well, that kind of begs the question. Do you think Bigelow is still in charge up there, or are these just kind of a PR face?
A little bit of both. He's definitely gets some sort of. I think both parties benefit. I think the government benefits for the military applications of what they're discovering out there and coming across, and I think Bigelow definitely, with his aerospace company, he's got the challenge of how he's going to get payloads from the Earth to his space stations. He's got these inflatable space stations out in space, and the cost
the only
for doing
privately owned objects orbiting in space in terms of actual inhabitable objects. Plus, he's been contracted by NASA to supply modules for the space station, and is also has a deal with the FAA. That when the FAA receives UFO reports, they're referred on to Bigelow Aerospace. A lot of people don't know that.
So if there is legitimacy to everything that's happening out there, and I'm just one voice, and I can confirm that there is, But I think his own interest demonstrates that where there's smoke, there's fire, and he's onto something. He's for business reasons, he's gleaning some sort of information. And with a team of physicists, the majority of the NIDS team had PhDs in physics. He's my guess, it's just an assumption and guess on my part, speculation, that has something to do with travel, with these portals and transporting objects from one place to another, and doing it without having to use liquid fuel to do so, expensive gasolines and whatnot. It would be a huge advantage to his company. And then from the military, I think one of the scientists was named Eric Davis, discussed having some sort of almost possession-like phenomena that occurred to him, where one of the intelligences took over his mind and spoke through him, and even took control, it said in the book, of all of his various senses. So it had full control of him like a puppet. And from a military perspective, that would be pretty powerful in our hands.
And that is one of the examples of a skinwalker's ability, which is probably about as close to a link that I can find to the alleged abilities of a skinwalker and the ranch there. One of the things that a skinwalker is supposedly able to do is to take control of you, and you become a walking, talking, functioning puppet at the whim of this particular entity. Let's go on and talk some more about your trips out there and some of the things that you've experienced, and also then later let's talk about your interaction with some of the locals around there.
Sure, and if you'd like to talk about Chip as well, that's always an interesting topic that we.
You know what? Let's start with Chip, okay?
Brushed on.
What's the current status of Chip? What is he currently doing? Are you in regular touch with him? What's going on?
We communicate from time to time. I don't really want to identify him too much, but I can say he obviously no longer works for Bigelow and Company, and he's not even in state anymore. He's moved on. He's moved out of state for a new job.
Still security or what?
No. Revealing too much. I think from what I've heard from others, I think they know exactly who he is and kind of who this whistleblower is. So I don't know if the mystery or if the need for protection is as stringent as it was years ago when we first talked. I think Bigelow and team, they know exactly who Chip is my guess and what I've heard from a few people.
Do they just put up with him or what?
It's kind of like that Bob Lazar thing. The cat's out of the bag at this point. I mean, I don't know if Bob Lazar was a real deal or not, but the fact that he made himself so public and the information, I mean, once it's out of the bag, the damage is done at that point, I guess. And really, how much does Chip know and how much did he share with us? And it wasn't that revealing, I guess. This wasn't one of the closer inside people. It was fascinating, but the damage is done. What are they going to do?
In your particular case here, did anyone associated with Sherman Ranch or Bigelow Ranch ever contact you and say, listen, this is not cool?
The whole story about Chip is almost as bizarre as everything else on the ranch. And when I tell people, they almost think that's more fantastic than, again, some of these individual stories. But I think this might have been around 2007 is when I met him. And I met him, he was, as he told me, he was one of Bigelow's guards, and he was hired, part of his job was to contact me and to try to gain information about where I'm going to be, what I'm doing, just to gather intel on me. And through the course of us discussing and talking over email, somehow I think he became a little disenfranchised with his job there, working on the ranch. And also we became friends through almost half a year of conversating back and forth. And suddenly I told him at one point I was moving and I was pretty stressed out by this move up here that I had, and I had no one to help me kind of pack everything. I had to be out in a week. I had bought a new house. And he offered to fly up here and help me move. And I guess I am pretty impulsive. This is someone I never met. And this is also someone who, when he was working on the ranch, I mean, had he caught me trespassing or walking around out there, I mean, this is someone who would have messed me up pretty bad. That's what he was paid to do, to detain you and put you in the dirt and haul you away. I don't know. I just, I guess, again, my obsession for what's going on out there took the best of me, and I took an impulsive gamble, and I invited him up here. And we hung out for almost a week, and I learned he was a pretty good guy, actually. Interesting military career, and he had some pretty important jobs that he had done in the military, which impressed me how Bigelow hires these people with top secret backgrounds and these impressive resumes going into it. And I guess that's where our friendship started. And we're still friends to this day.
We're talking about Chip, the whistleblower for the Skinwalker Ranch, with Gene and Chris talking to Ryan Skinner. You're in the Paracast.
Not just an alternative to the mainstream media. We're the premier independent talk radio network. We are GCN.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100 foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL.
Lock in your price now. Take delivery in spring.
866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
Would you like being an insider? Would you like getting exclusive access to prizes and better deals? Would you like some help in making sure you and your loved ones are prepared for the next disaster or emergency? If you answered yes to any of these, here's your simple solution. Join Freeze Dry Guy's Survival Insider Club. Not only is your membership free, you get $10 in survival bucks just for signing up. Then you save at least 10% on purchases, plus enjoy insider access to specials, prizes, and other exclusive offers. Since 1970, veteran-owned Freeze Dry Guy has been your trusted source for long-lasting, easy-to-make freeze-dried food and dehydrated food, perfect for emergency preparedness, RV travel, and outdoor needs from camping to sailing. Enjoy life as a survival insider. Call Freeze Dry Guy now at 866-404-3663, 866-404-FOOD, or log on to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com.
My name is Kay Swirling, and I am in the early part of my 10th decade. I want to discuss the issue of pharmaceuticals versus minerals and vitamin supplements. I remember a discussion between my mother and me. It was at that time that canned vegetables and fruits were introduced into the U.S. market. It was some time before my mother and others felt comfortable with food in cans. That was also the time when drugstores offered for sale cough syrup and aspirins and not much else. Let's fast forward to this decade, the here and now. Simple drugstores are large corporations with the message that they are the ones who have the power to cure human ills. Meanwhile, the battle continues with minerals and vitamins being the answer to human ills. Who will win the battle? I believe and hope it will be the belief in the power of vitamins and minerals over that of the toxic chemicals in prescription drugs. What do you think?
Hi, this is nuclear physicist lecturer Stanton Friedman. You are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
On the Paracast with Gene and Chris. The book from Ryan Skinner, it's called Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. Now, when you speak of Path of the Skinwalker, Ryan, why that title? What's the forbidden path that we really want to know about?
Good question. It's a little bit of the play on in the hunt for the Skinwalker. I think one of the local Utes describes the ranch itself as being within the path of the Skinwalker. It sounds kind of ominous and mysterious, and I like that a little bit. But really, how that title came into fruition was as I was writing, I realized a lot of my journeys out there, I'm walking on what appears to be a man-made, stone-built road or highway, almost an ancient highway in the middle of the desert that leads directly to that Skinwalker Ridge, which overlooks the ranch. And from satellite views and being on the road itself, it almost looks like these stones are hand-placed, or as if there was a structure there, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago that was built. And I'm walking down this road towards the ranch itself. And that mystery has always bemused me and intrigued me. So, and there's just a lot of structures, as if these columns had been built and spilled over. Just the organization of some of the structures in between, in that desert surrounding the ranch itself, to me is unique. And I've taken some of those pictures and even have some video in the eBook version of my book. That's why I called it The Path. Almost as if it makes me wonder if there was something that happened in ancient times out there that spawned what we have in front of us today. Some lost tribe, or I don't know.
We have some questions here that might dovetail nicely at this point in our talk with you, Ryan. This one comes from Steve C., who's been a longtime poster, 3 years now, at forum.theparacast.com. And he asked, is there any truth to the story about Terry Sherman and his son finding an 1880s gold coin on the ranch that seemed to be in pristine condition, and once they picked it up, it tarnished and aged right before their eyes? Do you have any additional information on that? Terry Sherman actually told me that story himself, so I'm not sure, how to ascertain the truth of that or not, but he said it in a very matter-of-fact way, and it was very believable to me. Are you familiar with that particular account? And
I'll tell you, Chris, I'm like a dry sponge, just looking for any bit of water when it comes to information about the ranch. I mean, any kind of story, and I just soak it up and retain it. And I'll tell you, I did read that on the forum a little bit earlier today, and I have never heard that story, and I'm fascinated to learn more about it. Along
that was one of the early
that line,
events.
you might want to talk about the fuel rods is another interesting story that you might want to discuss, that there might be some validity to that. But what do you know about it?
About which? The gold coin?
The gold coin, yeah. What you said.
He rattled off a bunch of claims in a very matter-of-fact way. And, having interviewed, at that point, I'd interviewed hundreds and hundreds of ranchers before, and you kind of get a sense when these guys are, pulling your leg. He was about as believable as any person I've ever talked to about these types of claims. And And that was the one that seemed to really amaze him. To have, he thought when they found that coin, he thought it was brand new when they were looking at it, and he had it in the house. I didn't ask to see it, but I didn't ask to see any of the evidence that he had. I never asked people on my first visit, in my first conversation with them. I never asked anything from them. I just like you just mentioned, I just soak up the vibe of the person, what information they are willing to present without being prompted. And I thought that this was going to be the first of many visits to the ranch. It ended up being my only visit while he was there. And I did totally believe him when he told me this, and did some research and found out that other people have found similar coins and objects that instantly tarnished when they picked them up after seeing them in what appeared to be a new condition. And this is centered around north of the area there at the southern edge of the Uinta Mountains, which are the only mountain range in North America that run east to west, west to east. All the other mountain ranges run north to south, basically, in the United States.
And that's where he found the coin?
No, he found this on the ranch.
On the ranch.
But other reports have been filed of people, similar reports, but further north up by the Uintas. Another question from Steve C. is, where is the Dark Canyon in the Uinta Basin? What significance does it hold to the paranormal activity at the ranch? That's a question I'm asked often.
Okay, what is the question? Where is it?
Yeah,
and
where's
what
Dark
significance
Canyon?
does it hold? Dark Canyon is north of White Rocks. It is on sacred tribal land. I guess if you're not a part of the tribe, you're not allowed on that land. You're also not allowed on Skinwalker Ranch or the vicinity around it, or Hickens property. And I don't know. When I'm looking for something, that I don't encourage anyone else to ever do what I've done. And I've done it at great peril. And I've run into some problems before with the guards. And I don't recommend people doing what I've done. But Dark Canyon has always been an interest of mine, and a location that I had to pinpoint. And I've been following that one for years. And people have told me it's to the south. I've gotten all these different locations, but I finally pinpointed it. It is to the north of White Rocks. It is on tribal land. That didn't stop me. I went up with some other of the local Utes as my guide, and found the area, which is about 15 to 45 minutes north of, again, White Rocks in the Ashley mountain range.
Which from the Fort Duchesne area is what, about 45 miles southwest, I believe?
From Fort Duchesne, it would be northwest.
Northwest, okay. So it's up towards the mountains then.
And I have a link to it on my website, right on the map section of my website, skinwalkerranch.org.
Right, which is a very good site, by the way, if any of our listeners want to really get up to speed on Ryan's reports and things that he's been doing. This site's been up for quite a number of years now, and there's a lot of information on there. And it is monitored by the Bigelow people as well, who may be behind some of the hacking that's gone on off and on over the years. Here's another question from Steve C., which I'm very.
But I don't know if I answered his question. The significance of it. I think that's a really good question.
Oh, significance of it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, why the Dark Canyon? Why? It's almost kind of been the holy grail for anybody interested in the Skinwalker topic, and how it got to enjoy that prestige is through the book, again, Hunt for the Skinwalker. I think Colm interviewed. It was Junior Hicks, who was told supposedly by one of the Ute elders, that the lair of the Skinwalker it resides in Dark Canyon, in a cave in Dark Canyon. That's kind of the nexus, or the focal point of where all this activity is coming from. To me, I mean, that spoke volumes to me. I had to find this place. All the answers are going to be right in there.
I also wonder, before we go on here, and we have to break for the segment in a couple of minutes, how much of this is a self-fulfilling prophecy? You get the book out, and it's kind of like the experience some people expect when lots of people see UFOs. More people see UFOs. We say the phenomenon is reflective, and now you got a book that's talking about a lot of strange things happening. Does that in and of itself generate more experiences, or at least convince people that they're having some experiences? Ryan, what do you think?
guess it's a matter of are you looking down at the ground at your daily life and your job, or are you looking up in the skies and the mysteries around you? And it's rewarding to seek out these mysteries. You'll find them under rocks, and you spend dark forests and hollow canyons. But you got to get off the computer in your chair, and you got to look for this stuff, and it's out there, and it does become in a way a self-fulfilling prophecy. I guess, do we create reality, or are we a product of it? Byproduct of it.
Yeah. The more you dig, the more dirt you uncover.
Absolutely.
Well, you have to wonder here whether just the mere search is creating those events, or they're already happening, and because more people are looking, they find them. Chris?
I was going to ask that third question that Steve C. asked about your recent information concerning a ranch in Colorado with the same phenomena as Skinwalker, and news that Bigelow and John Alexander are involved there as well. That's news to me. Is this anywhere near the San Luis Valley where I was, or is this a different location?
Ryan, let's hold that answer to our next segment, and then we'll have time to go into it in detail as we do the final 4 segments of our episode. And our visit with Ryan Skinner. His book is called Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker, and before the end of the show, he'll tell you how you can get a copy for yourself and find out more. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast. Free from the shackles of corporate America, we're the place for independent thinkers. GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Great news, pure water lovers. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has a special discount offer for all GCN listeners. You can't do better than a Big Berkey for economy. For only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. There's none better than a Big Berkey for emergency preparedness as a backup water source. And you just can't beat a Big Berkey to remove dangerous chlorine, all types of fluoride, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, and unhealthy byproducts from municipal water. Berkey water filter systems are even powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. For the gold standard in water filters, get a Big Berkey at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. For details, call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Ryan Skinner, author of Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. Chris asked you a question there. You have a response now?
Yeah, what would you like to, where is it located by?
First of all, yeah, where is this located, do you know?
Yeah, I do. It's in the Black Forest, Colorado. I have the exact coordinates, again, on the website, somewhere in the forum.
Is this the ranch that's associated with the 1979 Clearview case?
No, that's not. And I've just recently, I think I've located that one as well. That one is in, Elizabeth, Colorado. Just to the south is currently a dump site for the county. But what's unique about the dump site, it's also a decommissioned Atlas I missile silo. And based on some of the locals, they've pinpointed that as the location in the book. They're familiar with the character, the Evans. It's called the Evans Ranch, which was overlooking that missile silo.
I'm trying to remember the guy's name back in the 90s. Was it Steve Lee that was featured on sightings?
Steve Lee is from Steve. Good, yeah, amazing. Steve Lee is the one with the haunted ranch in
the
Black Forest, Colorado.
Yeah.
So these are two separate ranches in Colorado, two very separate ones, is what I found.
One, now, do you know if Bigelow's involved
similar
there?
Events. I'm sorry,
do you know
what was
Bigelow's there?
That's what always surprises me is whenever we come across one of these haunted ranches, the name Bigelow keeps popping up, and that just recently hit my radar, and I think I shared some of that information with you, Chris. Is that Bigelow had an interest in acquiring that property, the Black Forest haunted ranch, which was on the TV show Sightings. It was recently on Fact or Faked. I think that was last year that was on.
Yeah, just for some of our listeners who are not aware of where this is, we're talking about an area that is north of Colorado Springs on the Front Range of Colorado, and just slightly east of the Air Force Academy, where Air Force officers are trained. It's kind of the West Point for the Air Force there. And this area has quite a reputation over the years for strange events, hauntings, unusual, very light phenomenon. And just to the east of this area is some of the hardest hit areas for cattle mutilations in the history of that particular mystery. So just to keep everybody informed about where we're actually talking about. So you found out that Bigelow is interested in this ranch then?
He was in talks with according to an email conversation that I have, and I posted that as well on the website, he was in a conversation to acquire that property as well. And what's a little bizarre is that the owner of the property was almost sounded paranoid. He was saying that Colonel John Alexander was putting some sort of like mental messages in his head and kidnapping his family or communicating to him through his thoughts, and he could hear his voice in his head, I guess.
And how did he know it was John Alexander?
I don't know. And again, I just have a little snippet of a emailed conversation from 1996. And I think I spoke to you a few days ago. We're trying to get a hold of this Gary Hart, he was involved in that conversation, in that email conversation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you didn't mention that part of it, but yeah, I can put you in touch with Gary. Gary is an acoustics expert. He's very, very up to speed on psychoacoustics and all sorts of interesting stuff involving sound. He came out to the San Luis Valley in '96 and did an investigation with me, and was there when I almost stepped on a 10-foot timber rattler, which is probably the most frightened I've ever been in my life. Jeez. Oh my goodness. I was going into panic attacks hours later after that one.
For me, I just like to connect the dots. And whenever I see the name Bigelow or John Alexander and, Haunted Ranch, it's just, how another piece to this mysterious puzzle that is starting to come together.
Yeah. And for some of our new listeners, John Alexander is a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army. He was in charge after he left the armed forces. He was in charge of our non-lethal weapons development program at Los Alamos National Laboratory. He's written a number of books, which I recommend, including his most recent book on UFOs, where he claims that there is no cover-up, that the government doesn't really know much of anything. He never mentions the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Organization, which monitors the airspace around the planet. There's some major holes in his rationale and his thinking. But having met John and talking, and speaking with him, I do actually like the man. I think he's very engaging, very brilliant, is extremely open-minded, is not judgmental. He does have, I think, some secrets that he's not willing to divulge, but he's very easy to get to know and talk to, and he's got a great sense of humor too. He's actually kind of fun to have dinner with and stuff. And His wife, Victoria, is also quite a interesting character, I must say. Let's go on to some more questions here. I have one here from P. Duchesne. Sounds like it might be a local up there near Fort Duchesne, or just they picked that name out of a hat, I guess, or something. You know, it's a question that many of our open-minded but skeptical listeners would like to ask most of our guests, as he puts it. What would be the single most important or convincing piece of evidence that you have? Not an anecdote, but something we can look at. One of my videos shows the ball of light pulsating on and off. And we were there observing the ranch, and this is a different story than the wolf story I shared. And the balls of light are by far the most common phenomena that we typically see at the ranch. And we were able to videotape it that night. I think I have a few videos actually showing that. Again, at the end of the day, I'm fully convinced, even the clearest video, if I was to take it during the middle of the day with high definition, I'm still not convinced that it would be proof enough for everyone. So yeah, well, I don't know. Saying. I'm kind of beating my head against a wall in a field that I don't know if I'll ever be able to convince the masses, but just to share what I've seen with a few people and just to have a few people believe in it and to share that experience with them is all I guess that's all I can do. But that video itself, to me, when I look at it, I'm able to relive the moment, remember that, and fascinated that I was able to get it on video. Yeah, there have been some videos and photographs taken of the area that are, equivocal, but it does suggest that there is something real going on there. I really have a sense that a lot of this activity is happening, if not most of it, and I think it is puzzling some pretty brilliant minds, and has been puzzling some pretty brilliant minds for a number of years. Here's one from a fairly new member of our forum at forum.theparacast.com. Calls himself Oaken Wolf. I like the wolf picture he's got as his avatar. And he asked, do you think we're dealing with multiple entities, or are these illusions by one entity? What is your kind of gut sense, Ryan, being up there 20 plus times? What do you think is actually behind all this? Do you think it's something paranormal, something ancient? Do you think it's some psyops military thing? Where do you come down? Other investigators that I've worked with believe that it is psyops military, and I don't subscribe to that theory. Based on my experiences out there, I feel that it is ancient, that I believe it's something ancient. It's been here longer possibly than we've been on this earth in that area, and something spiritual. There are so many different phenomena and things that occur out there, but I really feel it's coming from one source. It's dimensional in nature. It's possibly just a place where reality is thin between our world and some sort of parallel universe that we coexist within. And for whatever atmospheric reasons or physics reasons, that location, that actually the basin itself is unique in that regard.
Okay, that says it for now. Let's pick up on this thread of the conversation in our next segment. And by the way, you can find us on Twitter, where we are known as the Paracast. We have Ryan Skinner joining Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast. Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
Do you know how much the dollar has lost in its value against other currencies in the last 90 days? Ever think about how inflation will change your life, your savings, your retirement plans? Remember inflation in Zimbabwe, Argentina, the Weimar Republic? Put another way, who cares if your investments go up 10%, but you lose 40% of your purchasing power? Gold is the only monetary asset as no one else's liability. Gold still buys the same amount of stuff it always did. Gold does not require trust in a third party. You can possess it in your hand. You can take it with you. Gold is real money. Gold is honest money. My name is Daniel Larson from Midas Resources. To find out how you can protect your savings and roll over your IRA funds into precious metals accounts, please call me at 800-686-2237, extension 134. That's 800-686-2237, extension 134. 800-686-2237, extension 134.
To thank you for being a loyal listener, we have a limited time freebie offer for you. Claim your free heirloom tomato seeds, just pay shipping, right now at 123freeseeds.com. These aren't ordinary seeds. These are heirloom, non-genetically modified super seeds that are open pollinated and can be grown, harvested, and replanted endlessly. These survival seeds are actually more valuable than gold in a crisis. Go to 123freeseeds.com and you can get an airtight storage packet of 150 super seeds free while supplies last to say thank you for being a loyal listener. First come, first served. Just cover shipping. Go to 123freeseeds.com now to see if your free heirloom seeds are still available. That's 123freeseeds.com.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Chris is being assimilated by a skinwalker right now. I hesitate to say what he's going to look like when this comes out if his book doesn't get out very quickly here. If I don't finish what I'm doing for him with the page layout.
I'm going to be skinwalkering all over your ass, Gene.
Ryan Skinner joins us. Ryan, let me just ask you here, because you're giving us feelings. It's interdimensional. It's an ancient phenomenon or ancient phenomena. It's not psyops. Why do you have these feelings? Because they strike me as subjective, unless you have some solid evidence to point to.
Well, I guess I'm kind of ruling out the military or a human aspect to it as balls of light. As humans, we don't turn into wolves. I guess I'm just having a hard time. I don't believe in magic, but I do subscribe to there could be other life forms out there that we're just not familiar with. Whatever these things are, they're appearing and disappearing. And the more I read about string theory, quantum physics, and especially anything related to a higher dimension, as three-dimensional beings, what we would see from our perspective would be these blobs of light that we would only see a three-dimensional representation of a four-dimensional creature as it slips into our reality, and then as it slips back out into a higher dimension, it would appear to vanish right in front of us. And the balls of light fit that as well. Also, a shadow to a four-dimensional creature would appear as a three-dimensional shadow, just as if we are three-dimensional entities. And you look at our shadow, it's a two-dimensional flat representation on the ground, but to a fourth dimensional creature, it would have substance, similar to the that whirlwind of black mass that I saw that formed the wolf itself. So that's why I'm leaning towards a dimensional aspect to this. And I think even Kelleher and Colm hint to that, and especially with the scientists on their team. Most of them are theoretical physicists, and I think it's Hal Puntiff especially discusses at nauseum. He's pretty familiar with both quantum physics and dimensional aspects to that. So if you look at the characters on the Bigelow team, it encourages me to believe this has a dimensional rationale to it.
Well, the one thing I can see here is that Bigelow has government contacts. If this was a PSYOP operation, wouldn't they quietly say, hey, lay off, this is not really anything you need to get involved in?
Yeah, well, yeah. Why would these rumors swirl that they're working together, that they're contracted with Bigelow to study what's going on out there? Why would they be studying themselves? Or what is the purpose of even having whatever was happening out there was occurring before Terry Sherman, before Bigelow, before the Shermans? The Myers were, from what I understand, the original family out there, and this was happening to them in the 60s and earlier. So it's just I'm having a hard time believing the government conspiracy angle of it.
Well, that raises a point here, and this is another question by Steve C. And he points out that Frank Salisbury commented in a new edition of his book, the Great Utah UFO Display, which he re-released about 3 or 4 years ago. And he says that he talked to the previous residents, the Myers, and they said that there were not any incidents at all at their ranch for the 50 years that they lived there, and that it is not the center of paranormal activity in the Uinta Basin.
I argue that is the one. I like Frank, and I've talked to Frank before, but that one part of his story, I have a real big problem with, because I've talked to the neighbors that knew the Myers, and they said that that's not true. What Frank said, Frank came in there with an agenda, and he wanted to dispel the belief that that's what they told me. That's what two of the neighbors told me, that when they were interviewed by Frank, that he was coaxing them into, or that he already came in with a bias on that topic. Based on my conversations with two of the neighbors, the Garcias, and there's also another Myers, they said that they were on the ranch and they knew the previous owners, and that the previous owners would huddle together in the family room for protection as these golf ball sized balls of light would fly through the house, scaring the bejesus out of the family. And they would even padlock all their dresser drawers and all the different drawers, because they would fly open with poltergeist-like activity that would just terrify this family was terrified by something that was occurring there.
Well, David Perkins, who was the last person to actually officially interview Terry Sherman, but just days before he signed a non-disclosure agreement and started working for Bigelow, his article is called "A Ranch from Hell." I really recommend it. It's got some pretty bizarre stuff in there. But one of the things he pointed out was very interesting, that when you go into the ranch house, there are locks on all the doors, and the locks are on the inside. And as you progress into the house, they all lead to a hallway in the middle of the house, which can be locked from both ends. And then if you open the closet door and get in, there's a lock inside the closet so that you could lock yourself in the closet. Now, there's something wrong there, obviously. And I just have a hard time believing that someone would just do that as some sort of a panic room or something, unless they really had reason to be in a place of fear. Let's put it that way.
Those were the stories conveyed to me, and these were people that had worked on their ranch before the Shermans bought it. And
what about the thing that Kelleher and Knapp point out, that anytime Terry started digging on the ranch or disturbing the actual ground, that he seemed to think that would stir up activity and things would start to happen almost as a reaction to digging on the property.
See, some of these rumors have substance, and others don't. It's such a fascinating field. That story always intrigued me as well. Is there some sort of underground base, and that's why they're not allowed to dig, or is there alien artifacts? There's a more mundane answer to that question, and and this is also from talking to the neighbors and people that had been caretakers on the ranch before the Shermans. And what they told me is that I don't know if it was the Myers, maybe it was the Myers, that they had buried their grandchild, or some child was buried on the ranch. Back then, I guess it was commonplace that you would bury your children or a loved one on your own property instead of at a cemetery. And that area of the ranch, that's exactly why they told the Shermans that they weren't allowed to dig in that quadrant of the ranch at all, because they didn't want to dig up one of their relatives or have one of the relatives dug up one day.
Yeah, that'd be rough. Oh my God, there's Grandpa Joe. Oops. That would be terrible.
There's stories that on the ridge line, a lot of the Utes, there's some buried Indians, I guess, on the ridge line.
I've heard that too.
A graveyard on the
I've
eastern.
heard that too. Well, let's get to another question. This again is from Oakenwolf. And he asked, do you feel like something is there that's being heavily guarded for one reason or another? And that's why the activity that you have experienced and others is manifesting. Is there some sort of reason to guard something there? And if so, what do you think it is?
Hold that answer, Ryan, and we'll pick up on it in our next segment, okay? The book, again, is Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. And before we let Ryan Skinner go, he'll tell you how to get a copy of the book for your very own. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast. Headlines, suspensions, FCC investigations. That's Mancow for you. Hear him here. GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
Hi, this is Steve Sanchez, and based on a recent study, it was found that 57 million Americans had legal issues over the last 12 months, but only 60% of those studied sought out the services of a lawyer. Why? In a nutshell, affordability. Well, my friends at Legal Shield have created a solution that can help you not if, but when you need an attorney. For as little as $17 per month, Legal Shield will provide you unlimited access to qualified attorneys at an accomplished law firm for advice and counsel on legal issues, no matter how serious or trivial. For over 40 years and with 1.4 million families across North America, Legal Shield can help you, the loyal GCN listener. Representatives are standing by now to answer your questions, so call them now at 1-855-340-SAVE. That's 1-855-340-7283, or visit them at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com.
American gardeners and fellow patriots, make the right choice with your money, time, and your family food supply. Choose 100% pure heirloom seeds in the Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com. Why spend more? The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com is only $37.95 and includes 20 varieties of pure, hardy, easy-to-grow heirloom seeds. Yes, only $37.95. That's 70% less than our competitors. You could buy 3 Survival Seed Vaults for less than one of theirs. The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com MyPatriotSupply.com includes detailed planting and seed-saving instructions and ships same day. Plus, all orders over $49 ship free. MyPatriotSupply.com is American-owned by patriots like you, passionate about freedom and preparedness. Call now, 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Or discover more emergency preparedness items when you order at MyPatriotSupply.com. Choose the original. Choose the Survival Seed Vault at MyPatriotSupply.com.
These days, so many suffer from heartburn, stomach ulcers, and acid reflux, and most never realize it is the high acidity within the body that causes their discomfort. While selective diet choices can help, AlkaVision Plasma pH drops can really make a change. A few drops added to water can optimize your body's pH level, ridding you of harmful waste and acid, promoting health and restoring vibrance and energy. Healthy pH levels make all the difference. High acidity can also cause depression, insomnia, and irritability. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops bring you vital balance that can be truly life-changing. Alkalizing boosts immune response, reduces headaches and cramping, and even helps prevent bone loss. This is simple science that helps your body do what's natural. Order your AlkaVision pH drops for just $29.95 at alkavision.com, ALKAvision.com, or call 800-518-7615. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
Hi, my name is Richard Dolan. You're listening to the Paracast.
So questions from our listeners at forum.theparacast.com asking various things of Ryan Skinner. So, Ryan, you have the question in our last segment. What's the answer?
It's another good question. I have, from speaking with Chip and from speaking with others out there, it's a common question that I ask quite a bit, and I get a kind of vague answers to. The one answer I've heard, which I think is kind of to lead me off the wrong track, is that they're actually trying to protect the people going onto the ranch from getting hurt, so that Bigelow and company aren't sued by some sort of lawsuit of someone, some silly investigator falling off, like in my case, falling off the cliff and suing Bigelow, or possibly from the phenomena itself, from harming one of the people out there, one of these curious bystanders. This isn't whatever's out there is very real, and we don't know its intentions. But if I read between the lines, and from what I've heard quite a bit, is that there is another intelligence out there. The guards are aware of it, as are the researchers. I don't know if they fully understand what it is 100%, but it has a job to do out there, and whatever it's doing out there, they don't want to have it disturbed. And I think there's a fear that if too many prying eyes start meddling out there, that whatever's happening will move on to another location.
Well, that would actually be probably a good thing in light of some of the rumors that have surfaced over the years, including the rumor that was first reported by Jack Sarfati back in 2002, I believe, of actual deaths occurring to personnel stationed out at the ranch. He tried his darndest, and I did as well, after being inadvertently told of Sarfati's interest in this particular rumor. Jack Sarfati is a theoretical physicist, is quite well known in kind of esoteric defense scientific circles. He's quite a wild character in many ways. I've tried to get him on the show a number of times to talk to him, but he always has an excuse. But Sarfati mentioned that there were possibly two deaths out there, and the word mutilation was bannered about. Since then, we've broached the subject, I think, in our first go-around. But this is a rumor that refuses to go away. And every time it comes up, people involved in this particular case almost go apoplectic and backpedaling in denial that anything like this ever happened, or how could you possibly cover something like that up, of people actually being killed out there. Well, where do you come down on this, Ryan? You and I have talked about this from time to time. What's your latest thinking on the rumor that possibly during the summer of 1999, one or more deaths occurred out there.
I think there's something to the rumor. I don't know at this point 100% what that something is. Again, it still is a rumor. Recent information was shared with me that I don't know how reliable the source is, but the story I was told is that whatever these entities are, that they do have this portal technology. That's how they kind of slip into our world. For whatever reason, I think it has something to do with the power lines or something to do with the geomagnetism or whatever at the ranch. Their technology doesn't work 100% as it should. And as a result, in this one particular case, this portal was opened, and it was opened instead of on the ground for these entities to spill out and do whatever they do out there. This was opened directly above the heads of one of the guards. And this creature, this, tall, bulky creature, fell out of it onto the ground. And that was, I guess, some sort of mistake on whoever they are, their technology. So as it falls out, it almost falls into the lap of one of the guards. These guards, again, are these ex-military trained people who have seen action overseas, and their reaction, was beyond startled at that point. It's already a pretty scary place being out there, and then when this thing falls out on top of you, and you're told to look out for these things out here and to record them, and it falls on top of your lap. I guess his reaction was one of panic, and he must have reverted to his military training. And this is a story that was told to me. I'm not saying it's true. I don't know. But I guess he opened fire on the entity, and as a result was killed by it. And
oh, man, that would be the end of a bad day, boy.
And the whole thing was kind of over, I guess, a misunderstanding and a miscalculation on their part. This wasn't even supposed to happen with it falling on him.
Well, I think that's a good point that you bring up, that the whatever this energy or entities or whatever you want to call them, tag you want to put on them, they aren't in complete control. Terry told me a story that blew my mind. He said that one of the portals opened up right out in front of the ranch house, and this, he's seen this a number of times, and these triangular craft would kind of float through very slowly, and then the portal would close and the craft would fly off. Well, he said they must have had a rookie pilot, because I think it was the last time that he had seen one of these portals. It opened up. It's about 100 feet up, and one of these craft came shooting through and sheared off the tops of his cottonwood trees, which were really tall trees. And he said, see all those branches over there? It sheared off the tops of that tree, and sure enough, there was these, dead branches on the ground there below the tree. And I looked up, and there was a nice, neat sort of slash at the top of the trees there that had been sheared off. Now, for him to climb up there and do that and then claim that some UFO had done it, I think is highly improbable. So he thought that the person that was piloting this, or the entity, or whatever you want to call it, violated their normal standard operating procedure. Instead of floating through, he came shooting through, and he said they must not have had brakes or something, because it sheared off the tops of my trees. Now, who would come up with a story like that? I mean, to me, it's pretty mind-boggling, actually, when you start cross-referencing a lot of these accounts that have cropped up over the years.
Yeah, speak of cross-referencing, I spoke with Junior Hicks, actually. I think it might have been 3 or 4 years ago. I had a meeting with him, and he told me when he sat down and talked to Bigelow that Bigelow told him that these entities do have a problem with their coordinates around the ranch and how they phase in, I think is the term that he used. And as a result, some of them might appear not directly over the ranch, but over Bottle Hollow or other parts of Fort Duchesne, and then they kind of meander their way over to the ranch. So their technology, or however they move, is not infallible. There's something unique about the area, even to them, possibly.
It must be some sort of variable in the flux capacitor.
Oh, yes, we got to watch out for those flux capacitors. They're taking over.
Well, that's the DeLorean in Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Yeah, but we all forget what happened to we all forget what happened to the real DeLorean that killed his car company.
Oh, yeah.
He was arrested for cocaine or something.
Mm-hmm.
I forget. That was unfortunate. Interesting, but it's another story we don't care about. at this point.
Well, I had a question.
You're allowed.
Chris, what do you know about the fuel rods that were found on the ranch? I think Terry or Junior found these fuel rods and turned them over to Bigelow. I don't know if you've heard of that rumor or story.
I've never heard them referred to as fuel rods. They appeared
rods.
I think actually one of them was found on a mutilated cow. It's some metallic rod, and I've inquired about that. And one version of it is it was just an old tractor part. Another version is, well, they took it and tested it, and we don't know what they were able to determine. I haven't heard of multiple objects being found, just that one. Is that what you're referring to? I've never heard it referred to as a fuel rod, so I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing.
And we'll have to get the answer to the question of the fuel rods, whether that's a valid way to describe them. We have Ryan Skinner. The book is Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. In our final segment, he'll tell you how to get a copy. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast. The nation's largest independently owned and operated talk radio network. The Genesis Communications Network. GCN.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Take delivery in spring. 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now, thanks to Dan Pilla, you can get the tax help you need to end your tax nightmare.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce or eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay. And after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. With the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
Ouch! My back is out again.
Hi, Dr. Ortman with Wellspring Spinal Care. If you're experiencing neck, mid, or lower back pain, this information is for you. One of the complaints that I hear is patients receive their typical adjustment, only having to repeat them as the pain returns. Putting the bones back in place is only half of the battle. At Wellspring Spinal Care, we have the entire solution. We use the NUCA approach, utilizing three-dimensional x-rays and gentle touch technology to deliver specific correction. We then design a custom nutritional supplement program which provides essential nutrients targeting the areas of concern. With a NUCA approach and proper nutrition, you'll be on your way to a faster and more permanent recovery. To get you on the road to wellness, visit drortman.com. That's drortman.com, or call us today, 952-303-9124. That's 952-303-9124. Wellspring Spinal Care, chiropractic done right.
Hello, this is Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Skinwalkers, rods. What's going to come up next? With Gene and Chris. Ryan Skinner, you have a response to Chris's comment in the previous segment?
My memory is a little shaky about the topic, but I did bring it up to Junior, and I thought it was Junior him. I can't remember. Do you remember who found the rods? Was it Junior that found the rods, or was it Terry?
I thought it was Terry,
Rod.
but Junior was
I think that's
called
what
out
it was.
there.
That's what it was. That's exact. Now I remember it. Yeah, Terry found it, and I think he turned it over to Junior. And
then
Junior
somehow
told me
Bigelow ended up with it, and they
Junior
tested
gave
it.
it to Bigelow. Yeah.
And of course, we'll
what's
probably never see the results of that testing process.
No, we'll never. But what was interesting from speaking with Junior was that he said he brought it back to his workshop, and he tried chiseling at it, he tried breaking it or breaking off a little piece. There's nothing he could do to put a dent or a scratch into whatever this object was. But he did put some sort of battery tester on each end, and I guess the amount of it was giving off an electric charge. And that kind of fascinated him. So he took a butane. Again, my memory is a little shaky on this, but I think he took a butane torch onto the rod to see if he could melt off a piece or somehow affect it. And he said it glowed red hot. But then he accidentally brushed his arm against it. Something came up where he turned and put his arm onto the spot where he had just heated up. And he said it was cold to the touch.
Wow.
I'm not sure what any of that means,
Boy,
but
that
was
would be
giving off.
I would love to see the results of the test after hearing that. Wow.
Yeah, so he was absolutely fascinated by this thing, and he immediately told Bigelow and team about it, and they asked to see it, and he turned it over to them and was told that he would get it back in a week or two after they ran some tests on it. And a week or two passed, they didn't contact him, so he contacted them directly and was told, again, don't quote me verbatim because it's been a while since he told me this story, but something to the effect of that it was just an insulation piece to like a power line or a transformer or something, and nothing, or perhaps it was what you had described, Chris, and nothing that he should be concerned about, and just trash, and that he wouldn't be getting it back. And he said, well, he'd like it back anyway, regardless, whatever conclusion they came up with, he still wanted it back. He told them, and they kept putting him off, and he never was returned that item. And I guess that's kind of what started some cracks in their relationship, is what he told me, between himself, because he was an advisor in the beginning to Bigelow.
Right.
And at the end, he wasn't even allowed on the ranch.
Yeah, Junior Hicks, for you new listeners, is a longtime investigator researcher in Utah and was one of the investigative partners to Frank Salisbury, and was very involved in the investigations that ended up being published in the Great Utah UFO Display, which is about the Uinta Basin UFO activity in the late 60s all through the 70s. One of the most amazing cases that I can recall coming out of the ranch was the mutilated calf that I mentioned in my new book, Stalking the Herd. This calf was mutilated in broad daylight less than a quarter mile from Terry and his wife as they were in the same pasture as the mother and the calf. And they had just checked it minutes before, went down to check the next mama and baby. When they came back, the calf had been torn apart and carefully laid down on the ground, including the eyeball, I think, is a photograph in your book points out the eyeball. One of the eyeballs was left behind on the ground. That to me is probably one of the most amazing cattle mutilation accounts that I'm personally aware of, and I'm aware of quite a number of them. And I think that may have the shortest time frame between seeing an animal alive and then seeing it dead, because we're talking less than 20 minutes. This was able to happen in broad daylight in the same pasture as the rancher. And of course, with Bigelow's resources, he flew up a crack team of investigators and George Knapp, a reporter. They flew up on his private jet and were there that same afternoon and did a complete field investigation with a veterinary pathologist on site. That to me is absolutely drop dead amazing. And I would like to know more about the results of the forensic tests that were done on the animal. I think it's of paramount importance
I think they did share that.
Pardon me?
I think they did share that. I think NIDS did share that information. I think I have a link to that, actually. I have that archived file where they discuss the autopsy and some of the unique chemical compounds they found on the cattle.
Really? I don't have a copy of that.
Yeah, it's on my website. Wow.
That's really good to know, because I have never seen that to my knowledge. And if I did, I'm amazed that I forgot.
It's some sort of like knockout chemical that you would use to, I think almost like a painkiller is what fascinated me the most. Which,
like ketamine?
Yes, yeah, that's not it, but it was similar to that, and a familiar chemical to veterinarians, I guess.
Well, looks like I'm going to have to go back.
Which is interesting if aliens are using that.
I'm going to have to go back and amend that chapter, Gene.
Which chapter is this, Chris?
This would be in the 90s chapter, chapter 8.
Okay, that's the one I'm currently working on. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize how current the work is on this book, Stalking the Herd by Chris O'Brien. I mean, as we speak, as he was talking here, I'm going back and forth for the book to see things that I had to correct for Chris. And, it's called multitasking, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
No, okay, Ryan, we only have about 3 minutes left. And I'm going to ask you, first of all, before we talk about anything else, it's not a big book. It's 122 pages. It's an ebook, right, Ryan?
It's an ebook. It's also I have a paperback version of the book, and within a week, I will have the audio version completed. I have a narrator, pretty professional narrator that took care of the audio version of the book, and I'm working on the final edits of that right now, actually.
Okay, where do we get a copy?
Amazon.com. Search for Skinwalker Ranch or Path of the Skinwalker, or even my name, Ryan Skinner. You'll come up with the book.
Do you have a website our listeners can check out?
I do. Skinwalkerranch.com and .org. Either one.
Oh, you got those names. They can't take them from you now.
You were lucky.
Yeah. What's the difference between .org and .com? Are they two separate sites, or?
Well, I was just surprised that .com became available, so I immediately grabbed that. But I started out with .org initially.
Right.
So that when
So either one will lead you to the site.
Either one. Correct. Okay. It's the same website.
I do recommend the site. If you're interested in this case, I think Ryan has done an admirable job with some problems along the way over the years of hackers and other things. But if you're interested in that, also Dave Rosenberg, what was it, Rosenfeld. He also has some information on his site, but Ryan has got the go-to site on this particular ongoing amazing case, and it is, boy, I'll tell you.
So at this stage in 2014, we never reach the end of it, do we? So when you are in your 70s, you'll still be searching for the conclusion of this mystery?
Well, I hope by then to have it answered. Really feel within my lifetime I am going to get some sort of answer to all this. If not, hopefully way before I'm 70 years old.
Well, Chris and I have been following UFOs and stuff for more than a few decades. And I have a little less time than Chris does, hour or two less. I would expect, and I wonder whether I'll be there when and if we find a solution to the mystery. Chris will be, I know that. All right. And Chris's book, by the way, is called Stalking the Herd. It's going to be the encyclopedia here. It's going to be an encyclopedia. It's one huge book. It's got amazing information. And order it before they increase the price, okay?
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling they're going to.
It's going to go up considerably with this 600-plus page count. Jesus.
You can find us on Twitter. We're known as the Paracast. Once again, we are the Paracast on Twitter. I understand we're also being heard in Knoxville, Tennessee, on a radio station there. I'll get you more information about that next week. How about that? You also can check out our forums at forum.theparacast.com, and we have a place there called the Question Bank, where you are able to interact with our guests. Brian Skinner, author of Skinwalker Ranch, Path of the Skinwalker. Thanks for joining us this week on the Paracast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.